he was on ESPN radio and talking about the expectations for Justin Fields. It's higher than the expectations for Jordan Love in Green Bay. Listen.
I think the expectations are a lot higher to me right now for Justin Fields for a very simple reason. The Chicago Bears see that he can be a great runner and hasn't really had all the weapons to be a great, complete quarterback. The DJ Moore acquisition was a great acquisition. The day I saw them in training camp, DJ Moore made an impossible catch down the left side of the field in very tight coverage. And that, to me, he's not the fastest guy, he's not the biggest guy, but he is a great just football player, catcher of the football in traffic, and that's exactly what Justin Fields needed. Now, in Green Bay, I think the patience for Jordan Love is much higher right now than the patience is in Chicago for Justin Fields. And I'm not saying that if he has a C year, if Justin Fields, completes 61% and isn't great and they're 6-11, I'm not saying they're going to get rid of him at all.
Right.
But this, I think this is almost a honeymoon year for Jordan Love. And, the fans understand that, the first year for Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers collectively, those guys were under 500. So I think there's a lot more patience with the quarterback right now in Green Bay than there is in Chicago.
Thoughts there from Peter King from Football Morning in America.
Completely agree with him. Here in this town, if Justin doesn't make it, this town will melt. Up in Green Bay, certainly they want to win, but they know he's replacing a Hall of Famer, a legendary name in Aaron Rodgers. He's got 2 years guaranteed money. Yes, they want to win, and they're competitive and all that. Here, far more pressure on Justin.
Don't see it that way. Just don't. I'll equate the Packers situation with what's happening in the Steelers last year. So Ben Roethlisberger retires, finally steps away from the game, and Mitch Trubisky is the replacement. So Mitch had huge shoes to fill because whatever you think of Ben Roethlisberger, that guy's going to the Hall of Fame. He's got hardware. He's led championship teams. And so it had to be difficult on Mitch, even being in Chicago. There's probably more pressure on him to replace a legend than just him stepping in as a draft pick with the Chicago Bears team. I just feel like in Green Bay, with Jordan Love being the quarterback, you're replacing a legend in Aaron Rodgers. Now, it's not going to be the same. It won't be the same type of production with Jordan Love as a quarterback, but there's still pressure because it's about winning in Titletown. It's about being in the playoffs. That's what they expect. Could you imagine them not getting the playoffs after all these years with Favre and Rodgers, and here comes Jordan Love, and they underachieve? Oh, my God.
I'm not disputing that there is pressure. There's way more, in my opinion, on Justin, and I disagree with you on Mitch last year in Pittsburgh. Mitch was a reclamation project. He failed here. So when he went in, yeah, they wanted him to do well, and yes, he's replacing Roethlisberger, but I don't think anyone looked at him and went, long-term answer. They drafted Kenny Pickett.
But there was a standard there. And the standard was you better not be under 500. And if the pressure wasn't from the fan base, it definitely was from Mike Tomlin. He wasn't going to lose because of Mitch Trubisky. That's why Pickett was in. That's how much pressure that Mitch was in to perform. You're not going to be Big Ben level. He'll never be Roethlisberger. But he could have been the best Trubisky could be, and he failed. And I'm just telling you that Jordan Love, and we're talking about this in August, let the Packers underachieve. Let them underachieve and not get to where they need to be. Green Bay's used to being a winner. Those fans bitched about how they didn't get to the Super Bowl every year, even though they were a perennial playoff team, and blamed Rodgers for it. They did. That's how much pressure is up there. All I'm telling you is that in my mind's eye, even if the Bears get to the win total that you and I believe that they could be at 7 wins, 8 wins, if that's the case, Justin will be back next year. He will. So that pressure of, he's got to perform. Well, the Bears have to perform. The pass rush has to perform. Everyone's growing at the same rate. And as I've told you, everyone's in their their second or third year on this football team. And I just don't think that pressure that you come across with makes it seem like, well, if the Bears don't get it done this year, they're going to be looking elsewhere. And I don't think that's the case. I think that Fields the guy. I do.
I like Justin very much. If they go out and end up 5-12, Justin's gone. They have 2 first-round picks. If they're picking super high, if they look at him and have any doubt, I think Ryan's getting a new quarterback. I do.
There will be one to compete with Justin, but he's not leaving the football team. He'll still be here. Justin will still be here.
Well, but if they draft somebody in the top 5 in the draft, that's the future, not Justin.
Well, we'll see. But
That's why I like, you know me, I'm all in on Justin. I think he can do this.
Yeah.
But if they go out and have a bad year and there's questions, they're drafting a quarterback.
You know where this pressure comes from? This pressure doesn't come from this room. It doesn't come from outside these walls. The pressure comes from Los Angeles and Bristol, Connecticut, and all these bloggers and all these guys that have a show that's telling us that Justin Fields is MVP caliber, which I have totally hit the brakes on because I will not fall in line with Dan Orlovsky or some of these other guys that says that Justin Fields will be in the MVP race. You're going to go from 3 wins to being a 13-win ball club? Yeah, their lips to God's ears. That's not happening.
Antonio and Greenberg just now over your shoulder just picked the Bears to win the division. I don't see that.
But that's the pressure that others are talking about because they are all in on the Bears and believe that they can go from the ashes all the way to the top of the division. And you and I know it doesn't necessarily work that way all the time.
Correct.
That especially with a young football team, they could have 5 wins, and it may have nothing to do with Justin. Look at the numbers he put up on a 3-win football team with nobody to work with a rickety offensive line. Why did they win 3 games? The offense wasn't very good, and the defense was worse. So, as I mentioned, everyone's growing at the same time. If this ball club is under the 7.5 win total cap, if they are under 7.5, it may not all be on Justin.
Agreed.
He could be running for his life again and getting yardage and putting up some numbers, and they could still lose games.
Agree with you on everything you just said. But if at the end of the year, Poles has serious doubts if he's the guy, serious doubts, he is not going to commit big money, and when he has 2 number 1 picks, not get a guy. That's why I think it's a massive amount of pressure on Justin Fields, as opposed to Jordan Love, who has pressure, not as much as Justin.
Peter King on some of the general manager's moves for the Bears.
It is different if a head coach and general manager who actually selected the guy in the draft did all the work and say, this is our guy, we're trading up to go get Justin Fields, right, which is what the prior regime in Chicago did. But Ryan Poles, the general manager, walked into that. That wasn't his decision. I can tell you this from several conversations. He really likes Justin Fields. But it's a little bit different than Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. They're basically married right now to Jordan Love and the history of the Green Bay Packers. The reason that I don't think until midway in the second year, unless it's an abject disaster, which it's not going to be.
Right.
But I don't think there's going to be any pressure on Jordan Love until midway through his second year because he's got people. Remember how the Packers do their business. They do their business by drafting and developing players and giving them long ropes to succeed. And I think that is what you're seeing with Jordan Love right now.
Well, at the quarterback position, because Favre and Rodgers were outstanding and a perennial playoff team for both of those quarterbacks. The long rope at the quarterback position did not exist over the last, 20-plus years?
Correct. But with Jordan Love, he's been sitting. Aaron sat for 3 years. And I'm with Peter. Now, if it's an abject failure and they're 3 wins, okay. I don't think that's the case.